Hello folks, welcome to my channel. Today I came back after long stop and I came back with a new tutorial to build a search feature or this filter section here on this e-commerce application. I built this e-commerce application a few months ago and I got a question actually from more than one from my followers about how to build a search for a product in this e-commerce application. And this is the original application here. As you see, that doesn't have this feature, and I built this feature, and today I'm going to help you how to do that one. If you didn't watch this previous tutorial about how to build this e-commerce application, I will recommend first go back to watch this tutorial, and I will leave that tutorial URL down of this video. And also, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to press subscribe and enable the bell to get all new notification, and also don't forget to press thumb up to support me continue uploading more tutorial and videos. And also, if you have any question or any comment, so feel free to leave your comment down on the comment section, so always I will read that and I will respond to you. So let's go back to the second screen here. This is my GitHub account. So if you like to follow me, you can just press here this follow or give a star, and you can get all new tutorial also that I upload to GitHub account. So, and here this is a product that, or this is a feature that we are going to build today, this feature, this search section. So for example, if you see here, if I press go shopping down here, I have categories, list of categories. For example, this PC categories will display anything that's related to PC, and here we have also camera will display anything related to camera, and same for headphones and smartphones. So for example, if I need to search for one of these product, instead of like, if imagine you have many of them and you would like to make it easier for your customer and how to find a product, so basically let's search for something for example created by Sony. If I just type Sony and hit search, this icon here, so it will return anything that's related to Sony. See, we have two headphones and one camera, and all this for Sony. And if I select it from this all, so this is where you can select a category. So I can select, for example, a camera and hit search again, and this should be returning back again only the camera. So this is very actually accurate and very clear, and you can get a exact result you are looking for by a product name. So as we typed here, and same for example if I typed see, also when you remove the text, automatically will redirect you back to the main page and without doing anything, and it will set back this all category to the category to be all, or by default to be everything. And for example, if try to look for Samsung, anything that's related to Samsung, and then hit enter, and this should return anything related to Samsung. See here I have these monitors, and also I have 3 smartphones that made by Samsung. And if I select, for example, only here from this PC, or for example let's select PC, and this should return only this one, and hit search, so that's returning all this one. If I change this back again to, for example, smartphones, and try to hit this one again, and that will return all the smartphone. So this is what we are going to build today, and let's go actually directly and showing you how to do that one. So before that, I'm going actually to come back here. I already opened my terminal and I clone this project locally. Try to do first, if you didn't clone this one, try go and clone it from GitHub. As I mentioned, that this is my GitHub account, where you can find this project called Doing-A-Tick shop, and I will leave the URL for this down of this video. So after you clone it, and then do npm install to install all npm node modules, and then open that in your favorite editor. So today I'm going to use VS Code. For example, if I came here to VS Code, and let me first just switch to the branch that we are going to work on it today, which is called search product. This is different branch, you don't need to do this one. Good, check out. So I just switched to the branch that where we are now to showing you the feature, and that is, there is some error here. Let's see what's wrong. Yeah, we have this file change here, we need to discard this file, so it will not allow us to change unless to commit this file, and I don't like to commit it. So just check out again. That will take us to the branch that we are going to work on it today, and you don't need to care about this branching. So this is just for my workplace setup. And let's go back directly to the browser, and this is the app that now same as on live. So this is local in my local machine, and now we can start building the new feature. So let's go back to the code base, and what I did here, I created this very basic folder or directory, and this directory has 3 files: index file and select category.jsx file and style.css file. So very simple and basic 3 files. So index is empty. It just has a simple or basic component that displaying just a text, and another component called select category. So I just try to create this because it's very simple, and also to keep the time, not make the video more than should be, or not to be very long. So as you see here, this is the selected select category is empty, or very like just it's same like an empty component. It has just a text or a paragraph to display what is this component name or what is doing. So and same, we have this style.css completely empty, doesn't have anything. So we need to create a folder with the 3 files, as I mentioned: index file and select category.jsx file and style.css file. So where we are going to use this component, as you saw on the previous, that we displaying this component just here after this navbar and before this banner. And where is that in the code itself? If we go inside this products.js or this products directory and goes into index.js, here we have this like filter products component that I just added, where we can display the new component. And also we have here the banner, and the header will be on app.js just before both of this component. And now as you see here, we're rendering the component, but we don't see any text. That because the styling, if I go to HTML element here and try open the elements and try, for example, select the header, and just after the header here, we should see a video, see this div element, and see here we have a banner, and before the banner we have this component where we have this 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is a category from component, or select category from component, and filter a product component. So we can't see that because we need to update the style, and let's go directly and do that one. And first, let's start by building this filter product index.js file. So this basically let me bring some stuff from here. I'm going to bring some already code that I created actually, just to speed up the process and the video, and it's going to be not complex. For example, I'm going to just wrap all this content here with a class called filter bar, and this just to add some CSS. And also I'm going to bring some material UI components that will help us to just not do a lot of CSS. And also initially I started on this tutorial to use material UI for CSS components. I'm going to use, for example, this container here to wrap all the content with a container that to move all our content to the middle of the screen. Let me just inside this filter bar div, let's create another element here called containers, and move anything inside this container. And so now this select category, it should be also wrapped with a paper, as you saw previously on the search form or input that has a background like a card or a paper. In material UI we call it a paper, and inside the paper then we can show this select category, and I can remove this paragraph. Actually I added earlier just to show this component and what it's doing, and now we can just remove it, and it was just for explaining. And this paper also, it will have other attributes. So these attributes has let's just add them and can compare here, and then I can explain. So component will just change the type of this paper to be work as a form. So this paper will be performed as a form, basically like similar HTML form. This is how you can change the type of the paper. This is one of the material UI attribute or paper attribute. And also class name, it will be just root. I'm going to use a CSS to modify this class, and it will have onSubmit function, and that will be calling another function called onSubmit, and I'm going to actually create that later. So now just let's add empty function here, and as I mentioned, this will be turned to be a form. That's why we use this onSubmit. So when you press the button, it will be firing this function. And let's also add another button here. Let me just bring this button, also this the input, sorry, not the button. I can bring this input itself, the input that we are going to use, so we can search, and I can add that input here and then close it, and this input. And I'm going also actually showing you how you can get this from Material UI and then modify it in your way. And I also explained this in earlier videos, how to use Material UI. And let's paste. This one should be, it's self-close. Actually this is self-close, we don't need to close it again. And this input paste is a input function or input component that created by Material UI. It will allow us to add this onChange, and then onChange will be listening to this handler. Whenever we enter anything in that input, it will be handled by this function, and this function also is not created. I will create it just after, and just now leave it empty function. And this placeholder also to display this text inside the input, and input props, this is just for accessibility improvement. And after this we need to add the search icon, and also we are going to use that from Material UI. As you see here, this icon button, and that will be just after the input paste. And here we have this icon, and also we'll give it a type, will be a submit, and this label also for accessibility tips. And then inside here, instead of this search, we are going to use select category. I'm going to change this. Sorry, so we need to another this search, actually it is an icon that a Material UI icon we need to import at the top here. So let me just bring that search icon. Yeah, we need to bring it from Material UI icons. Just after this line, let's bring search icon. So this displays the search icon, and also as I mentioned that the button type will be submit, and Arial labels is just for accessibility improvement or to make your application accessible. And for next one, we need to also to display the result. And for now, actually I'm going just to see how this will be look like. And we have search product or select category. This select category component should be at the first or at the beginning of this paper, just before the input paste, and just save that one. And now if we go back to the browser, still will not see anything, because we need to just change the CSS so that we can see that. But still, if we go to the HTML element here, we should see the new component that just we created. See this here, filter bar, and has this some content. So let's go and add the CSS. So because I'm not going to focus on the CSS, I'm going to focus more on the functionality and how this is work. So this is very simple. The UI should be first building the UI, and that's why I'm going just to bring some CSS that I added here earlier, and then we'll focus on the Commerce.js library, how to filter or make a request to Commerce.js API with a query and get a result for exact product that you search for by a product name. So if I go to this CSS file and just add this CSS, so this class is that I already have it here on this index.js, which starts with the filter bar and also with form and roots, and just I'm modifying this CSS here and should be showing that on the browser. As you see here now, we started having this input, and also with the background. This background will be represented as a paper, and this input also has this search icon, the one that just we use for Material UI, and this is the input placeholder text, and this is the select category. At the moment is just displaying a paragraph. Instead of this paragraph, we are going to modify actually this category to display a select or form select. And so let's go directly actually to update the select category component, and that is going to just, I'm going to bring some code here and explain it line by line on what is they are doing. And if you go to this select category and just remove this here, this paragraph, and instead of this, let's just add this one here, and we need to bring some components that from Material UI also, and icons. Let me just, all these components actually from Material UI. I'm going actually to showing you the Material UI documentation where I brought this from. And as you see here, from Material UI we can get a form control, and we can get select a menu item. So this here is coming already from Material UI, just copying that from Material UI and modifying this to be meet my purpose. For example, this same, it will become from Material UI. The component has class called, I added this class just to add some CSS form control, and select also a component that to show the select HTML select element with where here you can add your value, and this value actually will expect a selected category props. We need to pass this props later down to this component, and this is how we can destructure a props. So this is a component will get a props, and the props will be an object, and to destructure that object using JavaScript E6 syntax is how you can destructuring your props. So we're getting this selected category, then we access an ID for the selected category. So the selected category will be an object, and that object has ID and name. And now here we just care about the ID. So, and also this select will have onChange, and this onChange will expect also another props called onChange, this function here. So we pass this also later from index component where we calling this select category, and also it will expect another array of categories. We need to pass this down also as a props, and we map over these categories. These categories will be array of object, and each object will have details or data about a category. And what we are interested on that object or on that category, we are interested only on that ID, which we can use it for key, and this will help React performance. And the value, so this when we click or select one of this category, we can get a value of that category. So, and also the name of the category to be displayed when you press select icon. So that is very simple and basic component for select category form. If we go back to the browser, we should see some error. Yeah, we have some error here because this component will need these 3 props, and we didn't pass any one of them. So if we go back to this index here, and this category here, as I mentioned, it will expect around 3 props. Let me just pass these props down to this component. And here this is the 3 props. If I just add a new space here, and let's add that. So the first props will be category, and second one selected category, and last one this onChange, and onChange it will be handle select change. We don't have any one of these 3 of these. I'm going to build them one by one. Before doing that, as you see, I'm doing this like direct return. I need to change this to add the curly braces, so we can start adding state or and functions that we need to pass down to this component here, selected category. And to do that one, just let's remove this one and add the curly braces, and inside here just do return and then paste the change that we did. So let's first to create this select cat. Let's create first this handle select or handle select change function, and I'm going to bring that also from here already created, and I'm going to explain that actually line by line. So what is this handle select will do? This is just a function, normal function, and it will expect an event, and this event has a target, and target has value. We can access that, and when you press select, for example, an item, you can access this value, and then inside here we need to get actually categories also, where the categories come from. So I can explain this line by line. Let me first bring categories, and categories actually will be we're receiving categories as a props to this component. As I mentioned earlier, the props will be an object, and this is how we can destructuring the props. And where is this actually categories coming from? So see this filter product, we call that inside products index.js file here. See this component here, and this products already has this props is coming from top level or coming from somewhere. So that I already explained this on previous tutorial, and how I pass these categories down. All of what we are interested in this video, we need just to pass that down again to this component where we can use it. Very simple and easy. So if we go back to this index.js, and now we have categories, and as I mentioned, the target will be coming with ID, and that ID will be related to a category. So, and what we are doing here, basically, creating another state to get the like very specific category, or the category that's selected by a customer. And where that state actually, I need just bring that state and just be closer here, and yeah, I'm going to bring this just after this line, and this is state here. So it will be called selected category. This is a category that being selected by a customer or user, and also we call this set select category so we can update the value for this state. The initial state, as you see here, I added this default category, and default category, as you saw on the video earlier, that when I show you how to filter or how to search for a product, by default select was set to all. And where is that coming from? So we need just create a variable here, const, call it a default category, and this will be just an object. And also, as I mentioned earlier, a category just will be representing an object with the data, and that data we are already interested at is state only about ID, the ID, and let's call the first this default category ID 1, and the value or the name, and the name will be all. So that's how we can display the name, for example, by default, because we need to leave it to be by default for all categories. When searching for anything, it will get it for any category. It will not specify the category unless the customer selected a category. So now we have this selected category state, and the default value will be this category. And here on this handle select change, so when you press select icon, or when you press select or select a category, it will fire an event, and that event will have a value, and that value will be represented as a category ID. So already we have here have array of categories. We need to get the same categories that we just selected, and then return it back. This is a new category. It will be category which has an ID, has a name, and has more other details. So, and as I mentioned, we are all interested in ID and name. So now this state will have the categories that's selected by the user or a customer. Okay, that's fine. This first step. Let's go move on. So now we have categories. We have selected category, where this handle select change, as I mentioned, this we created here, and we have 3 of them. So now we should have it work. If we go back, here we are. So we have select, and that magically bring with this category. Where is this category coming from? As I mentioned, this category already I talked about them on the previous tutorial when we built the e-commerce application, and this coming from Commerce.js. We added that earlier, and if you didn't watch that one, try go back and watch it so you can understand what we are doing here. And now we have also this icon. If we press this, nothing will happen because it's just now set to empty function. It will just reload and come back to the same place. So if I go back here, and now what we need to do, let's see what we have missing here. And now we need to add, if you see this input paste, so this is where we search, or when we try to write something or search for something. For example, if when we write here, and we need to actually handle this value, and then we can use this text to make a request for Commerce.js API, and then try to filter or looking for this product. So let's just open the console, and if I go back here, and I need to create a function for this button, and this called onHandle change. Let me just bring that function. So here, input handle change. So we created this function here. Let's just call this function inside this input paste, and inside here, let me just remove this one and call that function. And what this function is called, basically, or what this function it will do. So in this function here, handle input change, first we check if there is no keyword, for example, if there is nothing being typed by the user, and also, for example, when we press the search icon, we check also if the event doesn't have a value, and there is no also value on the initial state. For example, the user didn't search for anything or type anything. In this scenario, just we set this search, or first let's set this select category to be default. For example, if there is nothing on this state here, it will be changed to be default, or if that was set to any value, it will be just set to initial, because the search input doesn't have any value. This just to reset the selected category to be default one. And also we're setting here search result to be empty array. We don't have that state. I'm going to create it just a few minutes on the few coming minutes. And also here we set this result message to be empty text, and also we don't have this yet. So what these two they will do, so let's first just to have a chat about this set result message. And this is just to display a message for a user. For example, if a user came here, and let me just try to comment out some here, this two function, because about this not exist yet, as the application is not working. And also the keyword, let me also remove this keyword, is not exists, and set keyword also not exists. I'm going just to add that. Let me just explain what this is doing. So basically, for example, if a user try like empty this, try to press this hit, and maybe that do something, as you see now that's scrolling. Now I don't know how that came to here, so we need to prevent that behavior. So we need to make sure always our application do what we would like to do. So that's why I'm check, for example, if this input is empty and the initial state for the keyword or for the text that the user tried to search is empty, then try to do nothing. That's what is doing here basically in this condition. We'll set the category to be default, and then set this result to be empty, and also set the text to be or the result message to be empty. So now let me actually bring this to here, this state keyword. So the keyword will be initial state, just to be a text. So this is what the user is searching. If I just come back here and add this state after this line, and just as a keyword and set keyword function, and the initial state will be empty text. And here now, so when you try to type on this input paste here, we'll call this onChange, and onChange will call this handle input change. And this handle input change, it will just update the initial state with the value that the user tried to enter. For example, if we log here, we can log actually the value of this keyword and see what the user types for just debugging. This is how usually you debug and see your result. If you see the initial keyword is empty, but since I start to type, now it's showing me what I typed here, and now you're capturing the value for the user. And then you can use this value again later. You can use it to make a request to Commerce.js to get exact value. We didn't get to that point yet. Let's just first try to finish what we have here. So now let's also bring this search message. Let's bring that here, and after this line, result message state, and the initial state will be just empty string, and that just to display any unexpected behavior to the user to tell what is going on. And if I just set this, I undo this line back, so we should have a section here to display that message. See here, after this paper, I'm going to add this line. So what this line is doing here, it will check if there is a result message, then we'll try to display the result message here inside this paragraph. Otherwise we'll do nothing. For example, if I go back here to, for example, to the browser and try to hit enter, nothing will happen. Let me reload, and let's press enter, and that again is scrolling. Let's go back again, see why it's scrolling to that area, and see this search icon. It will, when we press this icon, it will, because this type is submit, it will be calling this on submit, and on submit now is just calling empty function. So we need to create on submit function actually to do what we would like to do inside it. So let me just bring it. Already I have it here, and I'm going to explain it also line by line. And if I just came after this and add more space and this on submit, so don't worry about what we have here already, just I'm going to commit that, and let me call it inside here instead of this empty function. And now if we save it and go again to the browser, and just let's reload it, and then just press search, nothing now is happening because we have a function. And now what we need to do, for example, in this scenario, when a user try to press, like just here this icon, we need to tell the user there is no results matching this when you, for example, press this icon, because nothing is entered to that section. So how we can do that? We can update this function here to, so we need to check first if the input, if there is no, for example, keyword on the state, we need to tell the user you have to enter, for example, value. You need to just call this function here, say, yeah, we need to just let's just enter. Yeah, we need to tell the user, say you have to enter a product name. If I go back again and I try to hit this, and see now we have this message, you have to enter a product name. And what we need to do, for example, if try to start right here, see that automatically is hiding the message because we try to write something. And where that is happening, see in handle input change, we calling this set result message, we set it back to be empty. That's how we can reset that function. So now we have the key that the user tried to search, and now also we should have the category. And if we added another console log here, just to showing that console log here, we can see what the categories are selected by the user, and also we can see the key that typed by the user or by the customer keyword here. And let's go back to the browser, and as you see here, initial one is the initial category, and initial key is empty. If we try to type, for example, Sony, the same one that we are looking for, this is a keyword. If I select category camera, now see this initial category, it will be selected to be a camera. So this is the actual value for that category. The name will be camera, and this is the ID, related ID. So good, now we have these two values. And what is next? Now next we need to enable this here. What is this doing? And if you see, now we check if there is a keyword, or if there is something that typed by a user, then we'll call this try catch. So inside try we'll do our functional process, and inside this catch we'll have this error function. What we are doing here, we do not display any error, but we just set this result to be empty array, so we don't have that yet. I will just talk about this. If I just remove this two line, and inside this try, getting the category that just we have here, the selected category, the category that's selected by the user. I'm checking if there is a selected category and that selected category has an ID, then return this object has this category underscore ID assigned to that category ID, the category selected by the user. So if this has a value, then I will try to spread it inside this e-commerce API. So this is how we can make a request to Commerce.js product request, and then try to filter from list of products by a query. So this query will be assigned to the user key or to the user input, for example, whatever the user tried to search for. So this will be the key that at the top here, the initial state. And also we passing this, we can also filter for a product by a category. And for example, if the user typed on the input and also selected a category, so you can get exact result for a category. By default, if the user didn't select a category, it will just try to spread this empty object, so nothing here will be happening in this line. So very basically we only execute this first line, and we need to pass to this commerce.products.list. We need to pass this query, and the query will be assigned to the value that entered by the user or a customer. And if a customer selected a category, that will be added to this line. If not selected, then it will be nothing happen. Basically, we'll try to do this process here. And let me just bring actually this commerce.js first. I didn't import it at the top. And where I brought that from, also this is on the previous tutorial. I already explained how we do this. Actually, I need just to import it from another file called library/commerce. And now we have that function. And what we do next here, sometimes, for example, if you search for a product that is not exist in your shop, then it will come with undefined. The data will be undefined. If there is no, then we'll tell the user no result match your search. And also with setback, again, this result to be empty array. Again, I will add this just a few minutes. And next, if there is a data, then we'll set, for example, if there is already a message displayed, and then we'll set that to initial to be empty, and then we'll set the result that came back to this new data. So now let's actually bring this state. So this state about the result and set result, and where is this coming from. And actually we need to pass this down as a props to this component, because we are going to use this data on products component here, so where we can show the data. And first let's just structuring that here at the top. As I mentioned earlier, we can pass this down as a props to this function, and also we can pass the search result and set search result. And let's just go and create this state. Let me also enable this line again and enable this line. So this is where we can update the state, and where we can add this state, we can add it on products component. If I go to this products.js, and here before or after this spanner condition, I add this state here. So this is a very simple state here actually, and the initial state just will be empty array for the search result. This is the result that being returned back from commerce.js after making a request with a customer search keyword or a category name. And after getting that, actually what we need to do here, we need to check if there is no let's open a query replaces here just to do that condition inside this render section. Need to check if there is no search result. We can do that by just call exclamation search result dot length, and if there is no search result, try to display the banner and also this product section here. So we don't need to display both of them, the search result with this current banner and a product. Just let's copy this and add it to that area. Let me just undo this line again and just copy it. Control X, and inside here just after the line I can, before adding that, because we need to wrap this by a fragment, and so because React can understand, so this HTML elements. So always we need to wrap like all list of children or list of HTML elements by one parent. So in this scenario, just we are going to use this empty bracket here, so which represent a React fragment. And so that now here will display this banner only if there is no search result, and if there is a search result, then will not display this banner, and this product section will display the search result itself, the one that we pass down to this filter product. So we need to pass this two functions, or this function and this variable to this filter product component, so we can use them, as if you remember we structuring them earlier on this component or on filter product component, and now we can pass them as a props down to that component. If I go back to this index, and here if you see that we are trying to destructuring the search result and also set result, and now we need to use this search result, which will be an array of data, and we need to render that on the component. So let me just bring code here that how we rendering this actually. So if I go here, if I come back here after where we're displaying this message here, let's add new line, and here also I'm going to paste just this code, and opening here curly braces because there's a JavaScript trying to mixing a JavaScript with the HTML on the render section, so that's why I need to create this curly braces. Then I call search result.length to check if there is a data inside this search result array or this variable, and if there is, then try to display this section. And this section is just wrapped by a div element, and then with the grid system, and this grid is coming from material UI, and as you see at the top. And later also I'm going just to give you very quick actually details about the material UI and how to use it from their documentation or their library documentation. So and then inside this grid we just displaying the list of product by mapping over all these products or search result, and this will return a product, and then on this product we pass another grid, and inside this grid, or this grid will be represent a grid item. As you see, this is an item, and this will be a container. And after getting as a product, then we'll call the product component, and product component already we have it exist. This here, if you see inside this products directory, we have the products component, but also we have another product component here at the top, and this is where it will display a product card to represent each category product. For example, if you back here to this browser, and let's see on the original application, if I come back here, we see this card represent a product. And if I back here again, so this is a product. What this component will look for? It will look for a product which we get it from this array, and will be represented as an object, and this object has list of details for this project. And also we'll be interested about this function called add a product. This function already exists, and we created on the previous tutorial on how to create a Commerce.js application. Where we can get it from? We can get this from app.js component, and how we can get it from there until to this point. For now, just let's expect it to be passed as a props as the top here with this list of props. And where we calling this actually component product filter here inside index inside products index component, and also we can pass actually that as you see that already is passed to this component down from top level, and now just we can pass it down to this filter product component. So that's how we can pass props from top level component, from parent to child to sibling. If we represent like here this app.js as a parent, which will pass that add products as a props to this products view, or to this products component as a child, and this is a products component will pass it down to this filter products as a sibling. So that now we pass this add product function, and now we can call it here at the bottom, and we should be good to go. We should be good to go. Let's go and see this is the live, and this is the local. This is a GitHub account. This is a local here. This still is complaining. Let's see what is it complaining about. Saying React.state called initially, and let's reload. And this inside filter product index in line 96. It's complaining about this product is not defined. Let's go to line 96 and see what we have here. This is 97, 96. This component we didn't import. We need to import this component. Let's just import that one. And always the error will drive us and will tell us what's going on and what is wrong. Always try to read your error and then try to fix the issue you have. Now we import it. If we go back to the browser, we should see it, unless we can have different error now. So yeah, we have another error here in line 11 on products, and let's see what we have in line 11 on products index. And if we come back here again, line number 11, yeah, see he is complaining about this because we don't have a React imported at the top. We need just to import React. Import React from React and save it. We should go now, and let's reload it. And same, we have another error is called React must be called in exact same order. Okay, so that's complaining because this state will be called after this condition being triggered, and it will say that you have to use a state at the time that you render the component. And to fix this issue, we just need to move this before the condition and just save it. And if you go back, we should get it. Here we are. So now this our search section or filter section. If we try to search, for example, for Sony and then hit enter, should see something. We don't see anything. There is an error. Let's see what we have missed here. Let's go back, and here inside index we try in this. Let's undo this. Now we have this function. Now we create our set search result function, and we have an error here inside on submit, and we don't know the error. We can actually try to log what's wrong here. We can just do log and try to log as, for example, keyword, and we can also log selected category, and what else we need to log? We need to log also the data to see if there is a data. This is just for debugging to see what the error is. So sometimes people try to actually remove this section for debugging. I will leave this on the tutorial just to help you how to debug if you had any issue. And yes, I'm going to add this to console here and see why we cannot see anything. So now if we reload, and let's reload and wait again to search for the same keyword Sony and hit enter. And as you see, we have a keyword and we have initial category is set to default one. And yeah, so basically we need to change this initial category to be 0 because we don't have a category assigned to ID 1, and the 0 will be removed. And when we have a default category, we don't need to make a request to the Commerce.js here in this line with that default category. We need just to remove that out. And see this condition here, when say if there is an ID or selected ID, when it will be 1 or any value except of 0, it will be true. So we need to make it false if the default value, or if it is a default category, we can change this to 0, because we checking that in this line here. We'll say if there is a ID, and when the ID is 0, then we'll be representing as a undefined or false. So this will be false, and that is fine. So if we save this and go back again, try to reload the browser, that's already reloaded, and we should now, if we try to search, we should get a result Sony, and then hit enter. And here we are. As you see that now we have a result, even we have a default category. If we change this to be a camera and then hit search, that we have only camera. And if we try to remove actually this text, and that automatically will reload and will display the initial page and will remove the search section. If I just hit this empty input with this search icon, will just display this message say you have to enter a product name. So basically that it, very simple and very easy. I know the video was long, but I was trying to just talk more on the details. I'm focusing on the details and just give you more brief. And before I actually go, I also mentioned that I'm going to show you how to use a material UI, or how I get this component from material UI. We just use them, materialui.com, and go just to start it, and then select components. From components you can go to layout, and in the layout you can use a grid, and we'll give you some example how to use it. For example, this grid here, you can just open this curly braces, and from here you can see an example how to use them. And similar for this text field, for the search section, if you see that I get an example from here actually, and yes, I modified that example. Let's see where's that. Yeah, see this here, this example. I got this example and I try just to remove this icon and this bar. Instead of this bar, I added that select menu with, let's see, the same that what we have here, this one here, and I left is the search icon and the input. So this same as this, I just modified this code, and as you see we have this paper, and this just same what we have. I copy it from here and just I modified it to be meeting my purpose. So this is a material UI, how to use it. And also let's recap what we did. And we created a directory called filter product, and this filter product has 2 components and 1 style sheet file. So I can actually have all of this in one component instead of 2 components, but I tried to separate this away to make the code less and easy to read inside this index.js. So I can actually bring all this code here, and instead to add it here and directly just add it to this index here where we're displaying this category. And that also will do. So basically I can just do instead like that, and that will do, but I try to make it more organized and more tidy. And always, and when try to make your component smaller if you can. And also we try to just initially at the first time to build the UI using material UI and simple CSS that here inside this file. And after we created the material UI or the component UI, and then we created this function here to handle our process. We have around 3 functions. So we have this handle input change, will be tracking the user, what user is trying to type on the input search section, and it will get that value and set it to this state here, and it will change that whatever customer try to search for. And then after getting that, then on the select section, it will check if the user try or a customer select a category. It will get the value, and the value will be an ID. Then we're filtering the category related to that ID from this list of categories. And this list of categories, we get them as a props from the top level or from this products component. And that already, as I mentioned, we talked about this on the previous tutorial. And I will leave that tutorial down of this video if you'd like to watch it. And the next third function, that's the important function also, this on submit. So when we press search or hit enter icon, we'll call this on submit, will be fired on this form here. This paper will be represented as a form, as you see here. And when we're firing this on submit, it will check if there is no key added to that input. It will just fire this message, and this message just will be displayed here. It will be handled in this line. It will check if there is a message, it will display it, and will tell the user you have to enter a product so you can search for something. And if there is a keyword, then I'm making a condition here to check if there is a category selected, so I can use the keyword and category to get exact result for the product that being searched by a customer. If there is no category being selected, then we'll use only the keyword to make a request to Commerce.js API, and that's how we can do that request. So we can just add a query and assign that query to the keywords that being entered by a customer. And also if there is a category selected, we'll add the category, otherwise we'll just add the key. And here we can remove the console log. This was just for debugging. And here what I'm doing, so for example, if a customer tries to search for something that does not exist on your shop, then we'll come back with undefined the data. And when the data undefined, then we'll tell the user no result match what you try to search. And also we'll reset the initial search result to be just empty array. And otherwise, if there is a data coming back, we'll set the message. Imagine if there is any message was being displayed, to set it back to be empty, and then set the search result to the new data that coming back from the API. And if there is any error, then we'll just set the search result to be empty array and will not display the error in this step. And let's just showing you the example for example, if when try to search for something that is not exist in your shop, let's try just, as you see here, there is a message now. If I just press here, nothing should be happening. If I just try to search for something, test, for example, and then try hit enter, and will tell me no result match. I don't have any product called test. But if I search for Samsung, for example, and then hit enter, Samsung, Samsung, and hit enter, so that will return back anything related to Samsung. And as you see, I have a smartphone and I have also computer part. If I change the category, for example, to smartphone, it should return only the smartphone. And hit enter again, that should be just coming back with the smartphone. And also I can view this card, and I can go to the view section here. It will show me the smart card, and I can also add it to the basket. So here, as you see, if I come to the basket, I can see it here. So that's it. So this is a brief, and this is also recap for this tutorial. I hope that was useful and easy to understand how you can do this. And also, if you like this, don't forget to press thumb up, and always leave your comment down section. And also, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to press subscribe button and enable the bell to get all new videos and content. So then see you on the next video.